Yes, hello. Welcome to Larger Than Life.
Or yes, hello again.
Yes,
yes.
Welcome
back.
Neither one of us likes to think that we're premature, but you might have caught
Right.
a little bit of, I can't even use the word I want to use. But welcome to the program. We are here live at the Oasis at House Campbell, which we hope weather-wise doesn't turn into the outdoor Thunderdome.
Right. I think we're okay tonight.
You think weather-wise we're good?
I think we're okay until the overnight's what they're saying. It's a little steamy, evidenced by your shirt,
My
but
flop
you got
sweat.
your little fan. We got a fan over here.
Got my little fan.
All should be good. I think all will be good.
I think we'll be fine. So I just wish I had my long hair again, like I said, so I could look like the...
No, you have to feel better without it.
I do
though,
feel
don't
better,
you?
but I will tell
Right.
you something before we get into the serious
Jesus.
business of the show. One thing I'll tell you about this haircut that I've adopted, which is basically your haircut.
Right. I know what it is.
One
before
thing
you
that
even
I didn't
say
think about, and I don't wear a hat now when I go out to walk the dog.
No, you need to start.
And not realizing how much sweat that was, because right now the water is just racing, drag
Nothing
racing
contains it.
down behind my ears,
Right.
down my back. It just drives me nuts. But anyway, that's not really why we do
Wear
the
a
show.
headband.
That's what I'll do. I'll get a Mike Reno headband.
Absolutely. It'll
Maybe
keep-
a lover boy
little lover
special.
boy.
That'd be great. But I got my ACO hat on. I think that'll do the
There
trick.
you go.
We got a lot to get to tonight.
do.
We're calling this the Whether We Like It or Not show, because last
Yes.
week we had so much fun with George Vogel
We did.
right here in this space and a big line of bourbon bottles right in front of us.
And other bottles and
that was
cans.
that was a lot of fun. And we
Was
have our
fun.
cold beverages tonight. Hopefully
We
you
do.
do as well. Cheers, Fred.
Absolutely.
And if there's a drinking game going on, if our pal Lisa is watching, she will have a drinking game happening down in the comments for you, so you're welcome to participate there. The good news is we don't know what the cues are for you to drink, so you could end up schmammered by 7:15. We don't know.
But we also need your input, because next Monday we're going to do a little holiday weekend. Obviously, the 4th of July is Saturday, but a little holiday weekend grill out. And we need a cocktail. So we'd like for somebody to recommend
A recipe?
recipe for a good cocktail that we could enjoy with our grill. It probably will be smoke, billowing.
Oh, we're actually going to do it during the show. We're going to
Why
have
not?
the grill out there. Okay, great.
Why not? Let's
All
just
right.
fire it up and see where it takes us.
Well, we have to find an official house chef for Larger Than Live. Now, we got lots to get to, not the least of which are, as we mentioned in the promo, current events, which seem to only be three things: COVID, the protests, and COVID.
Yeah.
So we're going to address those quickly, and we're going to try to we don't want to get too dark and too deep into all of this, but it is almost now perfect for this show, because both of these situations have become laughable, because there's nothing happening. I mean, starting with the COVID thing, Clamp Down 2 Electric Boogaloo, which we called about 8 weeks ago.
Yep.
We told you exactly when this was going to happen, and we were exactly right. It's not medical. It's still political, because, again, the medical part of it is still a mystery to me, with regard to where it's happening and the proof that it's happening.
Well, I think it's a mystery to even medical professionals. I mean, and it depends, again, on what network you turn on and what you watch and listen to. But I would tell you, I see this going into this weekend much like St. Patty's Day. I really do.
Memorial Day or St. Patty's Day?
No, St. Patty's Day. Because if you remember early on, I think a lot of what was locked down was because in anticipation of what could perhaps occur over a holiday weekend. And now you see a lot of the beaches in Florida, Texas, California, South Carolina. Those are really kind of the warm weather states. I think locking it down because in anticipation of the cases have spiked predominantly in those states. And I think now they're saying, wait a minute, if we kind of mandate things not happening this weekend, maybe we'll salvage a little bit.
Aren't the horses already out of that barn and looking back in their rearview mirror?
I don't
can't
know.
even see it. That's the thing. And my family lives in Florida.
Yeah.
I might talk to my mom. I said, your governor looks like a complete boob. And she said, well, he shouldn't, because we've only had 3 counties, basically Miami.
Correct.
And then there's wherever Orlando is.
Yeah, I think it's Broward.
And Broward. And then one
I think
other
that's
county, she said, where
Jacksonville.
90% of the cases are. So she goes, the whole state really isn't affected the same way. But I said, but your governor is acting as if it's all one, and he's not saying the right things to assuage the panic.
Well, if you want to be honest about it, though, you can reduce that down to certain areas in local communities, to then certain cities and states, and certain areas around the country. I mean, that's the one thing that you don't get, and I guess it's not politically correct to call out certain areas, but I think that's the bottom line. If you look at the map, the cases that have increased, et cetera, they're in certain states. There are plenty. Kentucky, we're in one tonight. where it really hasn't. It's remained flat or even gone down a little bit. Indiana's the same way, but then you hear Hamilton County.
See, but then Governor Church Lady was on today talking about, having different protocols for different counties. And there's one in east central Ohio, for whatever reason, has a massive number of cases and deaths. I don't think it's where Columbus.
Well, Columbus is in Franklin County. It's not that. And in Cleveland is Cuyahoga County, and then Hamilton County obviously is Cincinnati.
But you can't administrate this, I don't think, county by county, because hell, I couldn't tell you where Claremont County ends and Hamilton begins,
right,
other than my tax return. But you know what I'm saying? So you can't. I don't know how you really are going to be able to control all of that. But I guess what's crazy about like California and Florida, very big tourist destinations. So everyone wants to blame it on the tourists.
Right.
But then you're still hearing it's affecting the elderly, underlying conditions, so on and so forth. But didn't we just see a story today? Nursing homes are going to be open back up. I forget
for visitors, correct?
For visitors here at the end of July. That seems absolutely counterintuitive to what should be happening.
Well, I know that bars in Kentucky, bars in Ohio have been open for a while, but bars in Kentucky are just opening today. And there was a news story. Brian Hamrick from News 5 was down at Main Strasse Village. And, he was talking to one bar owner of the Village Pub, and I thought he made a great point. He goes, look, you can see we've spread the tables out. We've done what we can do. Now we have to rely on our patrons. They are the ones, and this is where the problem comes in, they're the ones that have to do the rest. What else can you do?
Well,
we're all adults here, man.
Well, you would think.
Well, we're supposed to be.
Here's the thing that we talked about, too. We are back actually behind where we started with all of this. Again, we're being asked to do the stuff before it's made it mandatory. You haven't seen people getting tickets written just yet,
right,
for not having a mask on in a certain place. But that's coming. And I think the second clampdown, as we predicted, 2 months ago, 8 weeks ago, is going to involve things like that. And I saw something disturbing today just about the National Guard being called out for testing. I don't want to hear the National Guard involved in this, because in my tinfoil hat brain, it's like, okay, well, now we're going to start putting the National Guard in certain places where it might not be a bad idea to have them somewhere down the line. And they're all smiles going, well, we're here to help the testing. And I'm thinking, I don't need somebody in camo testing me medically. No offense to the National Guard, God bless you, but there's something disconcerting about that. I don't like it.
It's larger than live. It's our hot and steamy edition. It's Campbell and Finn here on Monday night. Don't forget, check us out Thursday night, 9 to midnight on 700 WLW. We'll tell you about that show coming up, and we're on a little bonus edition this Friday heading into the holiday. We're filling in for Eddie and Rocky 3 to 6 on WLW as well. We'll do some holiday weekend type stuff and hit on our normal suspects on Thursday night. We'll get into some holiday weekend discussion a little later tonight, some fireworks, all that kind of stuff. But
I think it'll be cool. Thursday night we're going to talk to our buddy Joe Rossi.
And
talk a little bit about how things have changed for them, but also the things that they are doing that you may be surprised to find out that they are doing. And then Friday, as you mentioned, afternoon, we're going to get into some of the things going on the weekend.
And you're involved with... And you're involved. I know there's a lot of, and I think there are still a lot of questions from people. I know I've talked to a number of people who are just like, I can't do, when you think about kind of lockdown 2, shutdown 2, wherever we are, I've had numerous friends of mine go, I can't do this much longer. Like it's, I had one guy say, if I'm looking at this through the end of the year, what the hell am I going to do for the rest of the year? And I'm like, I can't, I have a rotation of 3 chairs. When I'm not working that I kind of sit in. Sometimes I fade into a nap. I love live sports. I still wonder now what's going to happen with live sports. It looks like they're all planning for it, but I'll tell you right now, college football, not going to happen.
No.
Not going to happen. ESPN's Buster Olney said there's a 5% chance baseball starts, a 0% chance it ends. And that's a guy who's pretty well respected, covers the sport. I just think when you start getting into these cases, there's a lot of that going on now. I just don't see how you do this.
Well, and even Doc said today, you know what, basically this baseball season is an exhibition season for fun. At Cincinnati.com, he goes, this isn't really going to be competitive baseball on the level that you would expect, like we joked about last Thursday. This will be the year the Reds win the World Series.
Yeah.
And everybody will be like, man.
Well, I don't know whether you saw this today, but players are already starting to opt out. Mike Leake, the former Red, Ryan Zimmerman, Ross, they're saying, and citing, everything from, family issues to whatever. And these are guys who've made, you look at the, Mike Leake's made somewhere in the range of $90 million. Ryan Zimmerman over $100 million for his career. You know what?
He'll probably be okay.
Well, you think if you've taken care of your money and you're not, comfortable with this, Why play?
Well, I guess ultimately that's the point. And then it becomes a shame game, probably amongst the clubhouses or different things. Is why do you expect me to be here? Why not? We talked. One of the other things we talked about is, what will come back and what won't come back. Not sports is obviously the biggest thing that we're all anticipating, but there are so many other things we talked about. Commercial real estate. I saw an article today about probably the most coveted now address in the United States, the Empire State Building, still for office space. And the number of businesses that have reduced expansion plans or now are talking about their people. I think it was Calvin Klein or somebody. They're telling their people they don't ever have to come back to the office if they don't want to. But what's interesting is because it's such a destination and such an ego sort of site that some businesses are upping what they want to do, and some companies are now signing new leases because they think they can get a better deal. So I don't know. A lot of things are going to change. A lot of things may go away and never come back. We talked about that earlier today. I can think of one off the top of my head that has the very real possibility of going away and never coming back in its current form. You know what it is?
Is it a business?
It's an industry. Well, it's
industry.
Part of it. It's a big industry, and it's part of the industry.
I don't know.
Because they can do it a different way.
Tell me.
Movie theaters.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was at AMC. One of them already said they're not going to be opening back up actual large-scale theaters.
Yeah.
And I don't see that ever coming back to the level. And think about it. Now, we're just now getting to the point where, you could sit back in a lounge chair and be fed grapes and have people fanning you like ancient Rome and watch a movie and take a nap or whatever the hell for $38. And now all those places have been built. And now what are they going to be? They're probably going to end up becoming Roman bathhouses, and we'll be back where we started.
I think of that when I drive by most malls. Losing the primary, the big retail tenants. I'm thinking, what would this site be good for in the future? I mean, it's and I will tell you,
skateboarding, dude.
Right? Oh yeah, great. And I will tell you, you think about this. The entertainment industry and venues, the Broadway shows, they've kaboolied them for the rest of 2020.
Yep.
I mean, that's the one thing. While I think a lot of this comes back, I think it comes back in a much different form, and none of us know what that is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the scary part. I mean, you hear all these professional organizations, sports, they're starting to look at their staff, and people are losing their jobs. Even restaurants and some bars are saying now, we're just going to carry out. We're not if this is what we have to be up against. We're not going to do it. We're just going to go back to carry out, and I think that's a sad part of this, and I hate to use those three words again, but we don't know.
But I would tell you this, too, losing movie theaters. Think about how many movies have been made. I mean, I know you don't care for the Star Wars franchise, but imagine trying to premiere Star Wars in your family room, no matter how nice a TV you have.
Right.
Most of the country doesn't have that surround sound experience or whatever. You are going to lose so much of the culture of bigness of what we're able to do and experience.
And you talk about movie theaters, I'll talk about sporting venues. I think about reducing crowds and just it becoming essentially unaffordable for the average Joe and Josie. I mean, I don't know. I don't like that.
Well, and
you know me, I'm so tired of all the crap we have today compared to what we once had. We'll get to that.
Well, and that is something when we lighten it up a little bit later on, things that we used to have that have gone by the wayside that we've either forgotten about or maybe we miss a little bit more than we thought we did.
It's things that, to me, if you have a senior graduating daughter, I've got boys 21, 19, and 14. These are things that if you went to them and said the name of some of the things we're going to talk about, they would look at you because they have no idea. No idea.
Well, and unfortunately, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of that because a lot of the things today that you take for granted are going to be gone in 10 or 15 years from now. But Pam says the Garth Brooks concert at the drive-in was great. I think they saw it at Caesars Creek. That was a great money grab. That was a genius idea on his part. The guy is a great marketer.
He's pretty good at coming up with that stuff.
A country singer.
Well, we just don't
marketer.
I'm just not a fan of his music, but God love him for putting that together. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and somebody said, what about like big buffets? That would suck if Golden Corral went away.
Oh, I don't think it's,
Where else could we gather people to eat in a human corral?
I think those are pretty much gone.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I mean, but how can you? Salad bars have gone the way in recent years anyway.
Yeah.
You're not going to bring those back. Put the little shield and hope that Henry doesn't happen to sneeze and miss it and get in the lettuce or the radishes. I know they're favorites.
But
of
you know
yours.
what's funny? I mean, and you're like me. I was never a fan, and I like Jason's Deli a lot. They have a great salad bar.
They do have a great salad bar.
But I look at some of the people that are in there, and I'm like, I don't want to touch that spoon after that.
Right.
Whatever that was.
Right.
It,
right.
Well,
and if you pulled up a chair, I mean, you'd be a loser unless you were doing like a research project. But if you pulled up a chair to a salad or some sort of food bar and watched all day, you'd never go there again.
Well, I think that would.
Can you imagine?
That would be safe to say about a lot of places.
Well, that is. But what we don't know won't hurt us. That we could see.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who's joining us again. Remember, it's like lather, rinse, repeat. Like, share, subscribe. Like the show, share the show, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. By the way, thanks to our production crew, we were able to put together we have our own address now on the YouTube.
We do?
It's Campbell, capital N, Finn, just like the Facebook page. Although
I'm going to get you another beer.
There's a weird little lowercase c in the address as well. So if you just type in Gamble and Finn in YouTube, it'll come up to our little site, which is nice. It's nice to have your own beer guy here taking care of you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Natty Light, by the way. The drinking game is going on. I don't know exactly what the triggers are, but we do know it's going on. Keith Decker is talking about, drive-ins are trying to survive. I would tell you, drive-ins may be the way of the future for live music. The Naked Karate Girls back on Memorial Day did a show like that, and unfortunately, there aren't enough drive-ins in town to sustain. I mean, unless they run 7 days a week to sustain the music industry. But our buddy from Thunderstruck, Dave Moody, said he heard Eddie Trunk talking about the fact that if this goes through the end of the year the way that it's going, there is a chance that 90% of music venues will not be able to come back. Wow. That's what they're talking, 90%.
That'll crush me.
90%. Well, and then, as we've said a million times, if they do open back up, who's going to go?
Well,
when do you feel comfortable going? We had
a great question.
Graduation this past Sunday, and they did I can't even imagine what a pain in the ass it was to try to put this together. The state rules were changing every other day. The federal mandates were such. The this, the that, then down to the weather. Sunday just sucked in the morning, but yet it was all set up and ready to go. All the emails were out. Have your mask. Be no further away than an arm length from your car. Distance between each car is bigger cars.
And let me guess.
Blah, 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 blah.
I didn't see it, but I'm guessing that when the kids got there, when the graduates arrived, they were doing what you would expect graduates to do.
Well, here's what I'll do.
Okay.
Of the 10 things that were kind of laid out very specifically, hard-line things, out of those 10 things, how many of those were adhered to?
1. 0?
Not one. We drove in. We were in our car. That was 1.
That's 1.
We
didn't
didn't walk
walk
in.
You got 1.
Well, that was 11. That was number 11.
Okay. All right.
But not 1. The girls were all excited to be there. They were hugging. They were running around.
And how do you blame them?
Some of the girls had been on vacation within the 2-week period. They were asked not to. But that's going to happen.
Look,
people are, as you said, people are sick of it, and they're not going to do it anymore. And until there's a vaccine or some sort of herd immunity put together, I think people are just going to go the hell with it. I'll take my chances. And to a degree, that is ultimately what's going to have to happen, or we're not going to have any business. We're not going to have an economy left.
Well, here's what I would tell you, too. I think we're crazy to expect people living their lives. So you're 52, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Was that 54? I'm 56.
Take your pick.
Bottom line is,
whatever.
We've been doing things for more than half a century a certain way.
Yeah.
It's impossible for us to now, and I will admit, I've tried to do what I've been asked to do. But there are certain things that I almost forget. It's like the handshake.
Yeah.
You're so accustomed to just doing that.
I did that 3 times over the weekend without even thinking
It's hard
about
not to, because that's what you do. That's how you do it.
I would say, though, it is disconcerting because my whole thing has always been I would shake hands with somebody and then immediately lick my hand. So now I'm still doing that, and it throws people a little bit. But I have I'm just kidding.
Hell I was going to say?
I was just seeing if you were paying attention.
I am, and that would be
but
disgusting.
Think about this. Go back to the very beginning of this. What was the problem? What was the first thing they told you to do? Wash your hands. How many people had to be told to wash their hands? If you don't know to wash your hands, did I ever tell you the story about the guy down in Atlanta, the talk show host, the AM morning guy? I happened to go in one morning. I was doing stuff with the regular guys down in at 96 Rock in Atlanta. And I went in, and the big-time AM talk host was in the men's room. And he wasn't, let's say, standing. He was
seated?
Yeah, he was seated.
Okay.
He was having a one-man Zoom session.
Right.
And he got up, and I was peeing.
Oh, I know where this is going.
He got up.
This is why I never touched the handle.
And he walked out the door of the stall. Never heard the water run. Never heard a no paper towel. No nothing. Walked right back out and went right back into the studio. And I'm like,
that's disgusting,
man. Well, but that wasn't the end of it.
Okay.
Because I think people like that need to be told on, or at least exposed. So I found a font called Ransom Note on my computer, and I typed up a note that said, so-and-so does not wash their hands after they poop. And I printed out about 8 of them and posted them in the bathroom and around a couple different places until they got torn down. But I'm sure it made it back to that person. And
good.
Exactly. Good. Because
good
I don't want to
be,
having some of his ass on my sandwich at lunchtime. I wouldn't, because I would have washed my
But that's
hands.
why I never have touched the handle. And I'll tell you how bad it is for me. If I go, these damn new dryers, which I can't stand, they don't work very well.
Apparently they're just a cesspool.
But what I do is if I go in, see the dryer, I go back out and get a couple napkins and then go back in so I don't have to touch the handle.
Yeah. Well, God, it's like walking behind you. It's like walking behind the brawny man going into the radio station.
You
on
like
Thursday
that?
Nights. You got your armload of paper products.
I've got a roll of paper towels. I've got some sort of like Windex or some sort of sanitizer. I've got a can of Lysol. Well, man, in there, you've seen some of those people in there. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right. And
I'm not touching their stuff.
And I think a lot of this is so funny because you're being asked to wear a mask for other people, and you always. I'm not worried about me. I'm always worried about.
I'm very worried about you.
That.
But
actually, somebody might as well be. Well, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not worried about me. I'll wear the mask when I go to Kroger or whatever to make you feel better. I will do that for you.
Good for you.
Outside of that, I don't trust you as far as I can throw you. Not you personally, but most people.
Right.
I don't want to be around most people anymore unless I actually know them, because I don't know what they're doing, or rather not doing.
Well, we called today to make a reservation for lunch at a place that just opened. It was a pizza place. And they said, we require you to wear a mask. I'm like, I'm not going. What am I supposed to eat through my mask?
Well,
wear it in. Lift. Oh, that's
no. You have
bullshit.
to wear it in, then you can.
That.
No, but this is what they're doing. Then you can sit down and you can take it off, but you can't get up and walk around. No bar service. But only table service.
But that's where I'm telling you, though. That's the issue with bars, and I'm just telling you this because people habitually they hang out, they talk to other people. It's hard. That's a habit that's hard to break.
Yeah, well,
it is.
A lot of folks are watching. John Weissman and Al Winkle. Nick Bruner said he bro hugged a bunch of strangers in Mount Lookout this weekend. He's not sick yet, but in retrospect, not a great idea.
Well, but again, a lot of times that happens before you even realize it's happening. It's too late.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not hugging any man. I'm just telling you that right now. I don't need to hug a man.
Come over here.
I don't need. Just keep your damn hands to yourself. Why do you need to hug them? People are like, oh, you got to make sure you don't cough or sneeze or. I don't get that close to anybody anyway.
You carry your hand sanitizer?
I do. You damn well know I do.
This one, in fact, it's so hot in my pocket, it looks like it's about to explode.
Well, let me tell you.
It's swelling up.
A few have leaked into my pocket, and that's not a good. When you put your hand in your pocket, you're like, did I? No, that's my sanitizer. No, it's all good.
Anyway, again, it's Larger Than Live here at the Oasis at House Gamble. Monday night, 7 o'clock. We try to lighten things up just a little bit, even with the nonsensical news of the day. So we appreciate you liking and sharing and, again, subscribing if you get an opportunity.
And the next topic has to last only like 2 or 3 minutes because that's all I got in me.
That's about it. Yeah, am I getting the sweat under here yet? No, not yet. I'm doing all right. So one of the things we talked about is Minnie Finn's graduation. Well, now I just got another letter or email today. A letter. I received a parcel post via Raven.
Well, you remember when you used to get letters?
Well, yeah. No. Yes. No.
You do?
Well, I sent one the other day. I had to find a stamp. I think I took off a stamp of a. I think you know what I did.
I still mail stuff because
I
won't give in.
I mailed something the other day and I needed a stamp, so I took a stamp off something I received that hadn't been canceled and pulled it off. And
cheap
put it
ass.
On.
Did you tape it?
Huh? No, it still had some glue, so it's stuck.
Sign of the times,
I think
right?
it's stuck, yeah. But anyway, we'll explain to you kids what a stamp is here in a minute. But I got an email today from where she's going to school, and they're already backpedaling on the load-in.
Of course they are.
Move-in day of August 12th. I mean, they bounced it back a week, and now it's August 12th, but they're still not sure. She may end up living in a hotel. They are working deals out with hotels all around the campus that if they're going to have roommates, they will need hotel rooms. I can only imagine how much that's going to cost.
So let me ask you this. And I realize these are unforeseen times, circumstances we shouldn't have to deal with. But is there any validity, is there any thought to not attending this year?
Yeah, I don't think they can do that for there was talk of only the freshmen coming back or coming to campus because they need that socialization.
Sure, I get it.
Indoctrination, for lack of a better term, to the campus life and the whole thing. So they
understand
know what the hell they're doing should they be able to come back sophomore year. I don't think that's a terrible idea because sophomores, juniors, and seniors could wait till second term. Now, what they are going to do, I think we mentioned this, but they're going to go till Thanksgiving with no break.
Most colleges and universities are, and then be done.
Yeah, and then be done until the next quarter. They may have some of this online learning between Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve, which they might as well just forget about because
that's a joke.
Doing that.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Here you go, CPS. Good plan. I don't even want to get into that.
But really, in some ways, I think most are going to do some version of that because what choice do they have?
Well, I don't know. And so, but I did notice they started the walking it back today because Pennsylvania is one of the states that's seeing a little bit of a spike, and they identified the counties where it's a bit of a hot spot.
Yeah.
Now, will they bring student freshmen in from states that aren't as bad first? Because here's the deal: once they all get there, it's going to happen.
Well, they're there, and they're going to congregate. That's what you do on a college campus.
Yes, and I've been preparing her mother for this. We don't want her to go up and get the temperature taken at the border, and then they go, you can't come in. We absolutely do not want that. But I said you better be prepared for 2 weeks in or 3 weeks in for her to go, guess what? Zing, I'm at the health center. Guess what I've got? Because I think that's going to happen. It's going to run rampant.
I would agree with you.
But if it happens that way, in theory, there is some sort of way to treat it in a herd or a group opportunity versus what's going on now where, I think some of these spikes, no one wants to attribute them to the protests. And everybody's like, they all wore masks. That's nonsense.
Well, no, they didn't.
If they're out sweating and yelling and screaming, that's the thing they're telling you spreads it. And then they're trying to say it didn't happen because of that.
Right.
Or it didn't happen at a political rally. It happens.
I know.
If it's going to happen here, it's going to happen there. So there's still a lot of misinformation going on, but it's going to happen on campus. It's just going to happen.
And you know me, I'm not political. I'm not. Between voting for Joe Biden and Donald Trump is ass clown left and ass clown right. These guys are both, seriously. But if you're the leader of the country, how do you never wear a mask? What are you proving?
Well, this whole idea of a sign of weakness, it's somebody's giving somebody some really bad advice, or somebody's not taking any advice.
Tell you what, I take advice from his press secretary.
You think it is? Yeah.
I don't even care. I don't even what she said, and I'd go, okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Right?
That's great. Anyway, so we always try to boil politics down to who's the hottest.
Well, she's the hottest. Let me tell you. Am I right, though? Would you rather look at her or Sean Spicer? Right? You talk about a clown.
Yeah. Oh, he was on Dancing with the Stars. He's a star now.
And wait, hang on. Over here in Kentucky, we're getting closer.
I know that.
We're getting closer to somebody winning the Senate Democrat seat, right?
Yeah, 81%
all the votes,
of precincts are in.
Right. They haven't been totally – it's not finished yet, but McGrath leads Booker by 2%.
Okay, I don't even know what that means because I'm from Ohio. But
well, I'm just saying McGrath is the one candidate, Booker's the other.
Oh, okay. Well, I knew that. I figured that part out. McGrath, was she the fighter pilot?
She's the fighter pilot.
Booker's the guy that kind of came in late. And
McGrath got chastised for not taking part in a protest rally because she was with her family, because that's a horrible place to be.
All right. Well, here's the one thing, though, to either one of you, because I know you're both watching, and and hopefully you're able to be gracious in your ultimate defeat to one another, and then when you get the floor mopped with you by the Mitch McConnell bullshit machine,
which pains me
at some point, just going to come right over, roll right over.
That dude, seriously,
he's
just
a machine.
Go.
He's a machine.
Just go away.
And I don't even know what he says. I'm not saying what he says is bullshit. I just think the fact that machine exists in politics in this country is the problem. We should not have that. That
we're
should
done.
not exist.
Time with Paul.
All right,
we're
let's
done
move
with
on. Let's move on to something lighter. How about those protests?
How about
hang on. Let's spend some time talking about everything that's been accomplished since they started.
Okay, we're done with that.
Okay, now let's move on to the good old days. You want to talk about?
Well, let me ask you this: do you know the difference between a beanbag and a shotgun shell? Just saying.
I do.
Okay.
Well, I would tell you this though. To the point of the protest thing, we're now 4 weeks.
It's just over 4 weeks. Just over a month. Yeah, just over a month.
Almost 5 weeks. And to the point we made last week on Thursday night on WLW, which we do Thursday nights 9 to midnight, it said, okay, it's time to stop marching and yelling and start sitting and talking.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
so who from any of the primary organizations involved in this have sat down, talked with one another, proposed any sort of actual plan on a national scale?
I don't think there's any.
Anybody? No. What has been, besides a bunch of statues being knocked over or spray painted or whatever, or names changed or this or that?
Christopher just got put in a closet.
You know what? Take that stuff, put it in a museum that speaks to that so that the history can be studied where the history can be studied. That's whatever you're going to do, fine. But after all of that and everybody flexing, going, look what we did, what has changed? Nothing. Nothing has changed. So what can we do? All we can do is sit and say, well, we're a couple of guys who really don't know what it's like to be black or what it's like to be a cop. So all we can do is say, we'd like to see somebody from each of these organizations step up and, talk about a plan that we can get on board with and we can try to help with. So what do we get to do? We get to bump our gums about saying, hey, why don't you guys get to do that? And then we get to shut up because it doesn't involve us. So there you go.
So we'll just shut up.
The circle is complete. Let's
just shut up.
There
all right, here we go.
Okay. The good old days. This is something we referenced a little bit ago because we've talked about this a bunch of times. The number of things that we had around, not even just when we were kids, I mean, even maybe 20 years ago, that are just a thing of the past. They're just completely blown out of the water.
And if anybody wants to send in some that we may forget about, please do.
Please feel free. What's your first one?
Well, I had I don't know what I was dreaming about last night, but not what I should be. Somehow in a dream, I had a Rolodex was involved in my dream. I was looking up a phone number in a Rolodex. Now, for those on the younger side out there, a Rolodex is basically would sit on your desk, and you would just it was alphabetically organized, and you would have little pieces of paper in there that you would write, the phone number.
It was this.
Okay.
This was your Rolodex. Now,
your contacts.
Yeah, it was your contact list. It was just on a rolling thing on your desk. And you could take cards in and take them out and put them in, put them out, whatever. You could bounce somebody to the back if you're mad at them.
Yep.
That's just like blocking somebody.
Well, if they change jobs, if you did it by business category, you could move that around.
But let me ask you this.
Yes.
And true or false?
Okay.
Even with the Rolodex, you probably actually knew off the top of your head the numbers of 90% of the people in there. Well, I know you did because you're Rain Man. But most people.
I can't make this up. So Skinny called me the other day and said, I got a call from somebody at iHeart. He goes, I'm going to give you their phone number. Tell me who it is. And he gave me the phone number, and I told him, he goes, that's ridiculous because I got it right. And then I even went from that, and I said, well, let me give you another guy. I'll give you his desk number and his cell number. He goes, that's just absurd.
That's
and then
crazy.
I said, let me give you your old cell number. He's like, how do you do that? I said, well, and it gets me what? Yeah. But I can remember phone numbers.
I will tell you this. The one thing that it does provide, really good password protection. If you assign an old school number from back in the day as a password.
You ask my wife, I have no idea what any of my passwords are.
Really?
None. And I don't subscribe to that. You got to have all different ones. Hell, I can't remember one. Why do we need 7? While we're on that subject, I'll get right back to this, but I need 30 seconds on this.
Okay.
Stop changing stuff on my computer. If you're listening, Microsoft, and I know you are, your Outlook, you're ridiculous. I go every day, I swear, I go down there. Something's in a different spot. You got to click on this. Just keep it the same. There was nothing wrong with it the way it was. Nothing. And we also have the only house where every day the printer's offline. Every day. I try to print something out that said the damn thing says printer offline. And I'm like, what? Why is this so hard? Computer, printer, connectivity, print.
So what is the reason?
I don't know.
How
the hell would I know? I just ask somebody to fix it and it never gets fixed.
So do you get it back online every day and it just happens again every day, or you just don't print anything?
A little combination of both. Sometimes. Okay, Rolodex, but think about this. Remember the old phone book?
Yeah.
I mean, for those out there who are unaware, you used to get a very thick and heavy white pages for people. Yellow pages for businesses.
Yeah.
And one year I delivered phone books.
Did you really?
Yeah, that was smart.
You were probably very muscular that year.
No, I was just very dumb.
Now, here's what I would tell you.
I got attacked by dogs.
If you know how you can tell somebody that started their business back in the day of the Yellow Pages? The name of their business is like AAA something. AA or
right.
AAA or 4A.
So you could get to the
so they could be the first one listed.
Yeah.
That was the age-old trick, to have your display ad and to be the first one. So when people went in and went, boop, they went right to you.
Think about this. When you went on vacation back in the day, you took a big-ass road atlas. Remember that? I mean, took the atlas.
Oh, triptych,
baby.
Triptych
we
lived
from
in the
AAA.
tall weed and the high weed.
Right. Today, you just plug in where you're going, the address.
A triptych was the best, because that was the way that my parents got us to shut up in the back seat. They would say, "Oh, we're getting ready to turn a page," and somebody at the AAA office would have to take all those pages and take the green highlighter down the road and put it all together. But boy, I'll tell you what, if you lost that triptych, you were ski-rood.
But think about this. If you go anywhere you go, so if I go from here, I go in somewhere in Oxford, you just plug it in your phone, talk to your phone. Previously, you had to have explicit directions, and if you took a wrong turn or you got lost, you had to either have a phone number, and this before cell phone, you had to get off and ask somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm looking for this. Where do I go? I went one time for the Post way back. I was doing a story on a school way out east, and I couldn't find this place. I didn't know where the hell I was going, and I finally called a dude off a tractor. And my directions were, you go to the big tree, turn right, then you do this and make a left. I got there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. People that live in small towns, that's the only way
that's
they know
the way
how
they
to
do
give
it.
directions.
Yeah.
Or they tell you, go down to where the big tree used to be. They'll tell you stuff like that. That's always good.
How about when your milk used to get delivered?
Oh, the milkman?
When your milk got the milkman. My mom and dad
God.
used to give the milkman a Christmas gift.
You know how many kids look like the milkman? You don't ever remember that? You ever heard that? Oh, he looks just like the milkman.
I do remember that.
Charles Chips. Did you have Charles Chips?
Fred did more than drop off the the milk for the
liquid
week.
refreshment. Rubber cement in our class. That's why I only have the brain cells left that I have. Are you kidding me? I would always offer to mount everything.
But think if you told somebody today, "Hey man, you want to put your window down in the car? You just crank that lever."
Oh, yeah, and then it would come off in your hand.
Right. I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, I would tell you, we're starting to sound like the old man shaking our fists.
No, I just love this stuff. I mean, trust me, I'm not complaining. I mean, today is...
Here's one I would tell you. The kids will never, ever, ever feel the pain of a busy signal. You call somebody and be busy. Call somebody, be busy. Call somebody, be busy. Call somebody, be busy.
I never thought,
And you know what? Or the corded phone, the fax machine. Remember the mimeograph? That was the one where you always see people smelling their paper when they got it in school. But it's so funny because these are the things, and these are olfactory things that trigger memories. Like you remember that stuff. So I wonder for our kids, what are the things? I used to always talk about this when I would unwrap an album. I would sit and stare at it.
Oh, me too.
Memorize
the liner,
everything on the front and the back. And I look at the label. Da da da. What kid is going to go? I remember the day I right-clicked and saved that to my Spotify list.
Right.
Or whatever.
No, you're right.
No.
Well, I love Shaking Records. I know you do too. Over in Northside, we love going there. I miss I used to go to Record Theater in Norwood, Peaches, and I would spend hours in there. Hours just walking through looking at albums.
That's funny. I know Lisa and Dave Fisher. She said Dave still takes his Atlas maps when he goes on vacation. That's pretty good to know. And let's see, who is it? Keith Decker just wanted to remind you that 2 phone books will stop a 9mm shell. That's just to give you any idea who's watching.
Well, hopefully I'm not going to need to stop a 9mm shell, but okay. But that could be an interesting one on Thursday night, too. Just the stuff that today, I mean, think about cars from heated seats to cooling in the seats to the remote car starter. You've got that.
To no seat belts back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, remember, I think who was it that invented the remote car starter? Was it the Mafia?
Would make sense.
I think
I don't know that. Sorry, but I'll call my connection and find out if they were responsible.
It's funny that you bring that up because one of the things I had asked you on Thursday, and again, Thursday nights 9 to midnight, 700 WLW. We call it the reality check. It's every Thursday, barring a disjointed red schedule, which may be coming.
Which will be announced sometime before they start.
Yeah, sometime before the World Series.
Right.
And then Friday, we're going to be filling in for Eddie and Rocky 3 to 6 to get your July 3rd festivities going before July 4th takes off.
When you can't do anything.
One of the
weekend.
You watch people do nothing.
Oh, I know.
Just watch.
I know.
It'll make the Ozark Lake or whatever look like this.
Lake of the Ozarks, isn't that
Lake of the Ozarks, yeah. But one of the things I asked you to think about last week, if you could pick a 60 to 70 year period of time when you could have lived, and I've been watching stuff about World War II. I've been watching stuff about
watch that thing
ancient Rome. I've been watching stuff about different times. We talked about, the Old West. What 60-year period, if you could put yourself in, and again, not overthinking it and going, would I know then, would I know now, would I know what's going to happen? No. You would just...
Hang on, I have a few questions for you about that.
Stop overthinking it. Anyway,
that's an inside joke. That's bad.
You just pick your 60 or 70. You look back and go, okay, those are the 60 or 70 years that I think would have been very interesting to live in. That's something. That's a little homework assignment for you as well.
I don't have to tell you
if you're
now.
watching. No, you don't have to tell me. No, you have till Thursday. But between
Okay.
that and some of the other stuff that we were just talking about, what we've forgotten that we used to do would be something I think good for Thursday night.
Am I forgetting anything else? I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting tons. I'd love to hear from people if they have any other things. That
I don't know. Let me look. I'm trying to keep up, but I can't seem to.
Well, think about and think about this. Think about just like if you played sports. Think about equipment. I mean, think about the driver when you play golf today.
My bubble burner, my 9.5 degree bubble burner, was called a Vintage Club last Saturday.
Was it really?
2 weeks ago.
And think about that. That used to be like the newest and latest and greatest. And
I'm swinging that thing, and it looks like
it's half or a third of the size.
Yeah,
of
now
what
they're
they have today.
Swinging these Fred Flintstone rocks on a stick.
Yeah, when it was legitimate, when you used a wood.
Oh, persimmon woods. I started with woods, but it was funny because they called my clubs vintage. That's how long I've had, and they're not even that old. It was like ping irons and a bubble burner driver.
Right.
They couldn't believe I could even swing it. But
well, I have
the thing, now you need a golf tee this high just to be able to hit it. It looks like a water tower when you tee it up.
I have the original Big Bertha, which is like that big. I mean, it's not. It's a third again of the size of
everybody's
most today.
Rescue club is bigger than your driver.
Right?
Now.
No, it is.
But I mean, you think about all of that different stuff, all the different, the technology, the different things, whether it's the flip phones. And so I do wonder for our kids, what are the things that are going to be even 10 years from now? Honest to God, driving a car could be a thing. I don't want a driverless car. I'll tell you that right now.
I don't either.
I do not want to drive. I like driving. I want to drive. I do not
Although
want
for
a
me right now,
car.
I'd take a driverless car.
Well, that's true.
Because then I could get some. Then I wouldn't have to rely on people to get my ass everywhere.
Well, you're lucky. You sort of have that.
I do, but I you know me well enough to know I don't like that.
Oh, here's one: metal trash cans.
Remember
the metal trash cans?
Yeah.
And the guys that would come dump it into the bigger plastic can, and they could roll it on the edge out to the truck. Do you remember that? That was so cool. I don't know.
I did some things with metal trash cans I'd rather not talk about.
Scrambled up porn channels. There's one.
No.
Squiggle porn. Remember squiggle porn?
Do you remember On TV?
No.
Were you around here with On TV?
No. What's that?
It was like a different like station provider, but they had On After Dark kind of stuff.
Oh no, I did have the cable box.
On TV had the Reds, I think, at one point.
It had the little thing that just went across like 50 channels. It was a plastic thing, but that was the thing you could unscrew the bottom and touch a couple wires together and get the squiggle porn, which was just HBO. But you could do that, and then you would put nail polish on it to make sure that the guy, if he came to fix it, didn't think you had messed with it.
Well, and remember, I mean, back in the day of having the network channels, I couldn't watch things like Love After Lockup.
that's probably a blessing. Oh my God! Jesus. All right, Keith. Thanks for listening, buddy. Thanks to Jimmy Myers Jr. He remembers On TV. A handful of others.
See?
Stacy Cathers. I love my Big Bertha. 300 yards. She can hit it 300 yards.
She can hit it 300. We need to pick her up for a scramble.
Yeah,
then.
Absolutely, we do.
I sure as hell can't hit it 300 yards. I could, but it'd just be in the woods.
All right, so let's do. Shannon's just logging on. Appreciate her and the whole Cross family. Skates with keys and jarts. Oh, I have a jarts idea.
Who plays? I mean, that's one.
I have
Remember that?
sets. I have 2 sets of jarts. I'm looking for 3 to get 3 or 4 or 5 total sets because I have an idea. So if anybody's watching that has jarts that wants to donate them to this idea, I've got a really good idea. And this is something you and I can do. We can take this show out and we can do this, okay?
I can.
It's called Jarts and Jorts. So in order to play, you have to wear jorts.
I don't have jorts.
Well, you're gonna have to
Do
make
you?
some, huh?
I can borrow some from my dad.
I can make some pretty quickly. I think, Fred.
You think? Oh, just saw them off.
Yeah, we'll just get there.
All right, I can do that.
A jarts and jorts tournament. If anybody's up for it, all we need are the jarts. So, and you'll need some jorts. So we're this close. Show and tell. You want to do show and tell?
Sure, why not?
Before you want to go first?
I can if you'd like.
All right, you go first, and then while you're doing that, I'll remind you, like and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Gamble, Capital, and Finn, just like the address where you're tuning in now. Thursday nights, 9 to midnight every Thursday, Reds permitting. We are there for on WLW.
We should be okay because Thursdays are off days and travel days still.
Yeah, I didn't see one game. I think Lance is finally getting a little bit of a break because he gets a little inside pitch action before he has to do his stuff. All right, so speaking of Reds.
I have 3 items, 2 Reds. This is a jersey no one has, number 72, Mike Stefanski.
Does he even have one of those?
He's the bullpen catcher.
Oh, okay.
So, and these are related to, these are the kind of things that I like to get. Stuff that like people would be like, why the hell do you have that? And I really don't know.
You just reminded me of something I'm going to bring next week.
All right, so
I forgot I had it until just now.
And
that's pretty cool.
I bought this cracked Jason LaRue bat.
Good
because
Lord.
I couldn't believe he made contact enough to crack a bat. Because Jason LaRue, the Reds catcher, sucked as a hitter.
Let me see this bat. Is
it
it going to disintegrate in my hand?
Tar on it. Look at all that stuff.
Wow.
It's cracked.
That's lightweight. I mean, that's not.
No, it's
all the better to whiff with.
It
was so light.
Brutal.
Do you think he cracked it by slamming it on the ground after he struck out?
Probably.
What does it say?
Practice. He fed it's LaRue.
Oh, it does have his.
It's
name
his own.
on
I mean, they get their own signature even when they're not worth a damn.
It's pretty good. That pine tar's up a little high. I think George Brett might have something to say about that. All right.
And then I have a story here that says Gamble turns down WLW gig. Doc now top candidate.
Oh, is that right?
So it's a story. I don't know who gave me this. Somebody framed this for me. Trust me, I didn't frame it.
I'm sure it wasn't Doc.
But it was a great story by John Kieswetter of the Enquirer, and it was funny because I got vilified for this.
Because not taking that gig.
Well, it wasn't really that, but it was more that he continued to call me and continued to ask me, and I'm not somebody who's not. I'll tell the truth. So they didn't want me to say anything, but I'm like, I can't keep putting this. I mean, John was a good guy, still is a good guy. And I just finally told him, and when I went in, they were so heated at me. I got yelled at. I didn't give a damn, but I mean, they were just, it was ridiculous. I mean, how long do you want me to lie to the guy? So Lance, again, just anytime you wonder how you got your gig, just read this.
There you go.
It was me and then Doc, and I'm kidding because Lance does an outstanding job. Oh, and I got to tell you, you got to show me your show and tell, but I got to tell you something before we're done, too.
All right. Let's see. A handful of comments. You need to bring back the Aztec for show and tell.
Okay.
I think the Aztec was back in the woods slaughtering small beasts.
Aztec's taking it. He's tired tonight.
Yeah, the
heat's got to.
You're going to have to go back and revisit that story. And that's something I want to do one night where we just sit and tell radio stories. All right, let's do that. We can sit between now and whenever.
That won't be difficult.
And come up with those.
Probably our last week on air, but that's okay.
Well, not on here. Facebook will let us
no, this we can do.
Anything.
No, I got it. What do you have for us tonight?
So I have this pool cue.
Okay.
Which is autographed by... you can probably see it on the screen because I think I sent a picture. Theory of a Deadman. So
one of my favorite bands.
Tyler Connolly and Dean and the rest of the guys, all 4 guys, they were always called Nickelback Light. They were kind of discovered by Nickelback. They gave them their demo tape and they brought them along. But a fun band, and they did a lot of Bogart shows. And before one Bogart show, we did what we called the Theory of a Deadman pool party. And this young girl won. And she said, we said, okay, and her dad was going to bring her or whatever. Well, the whole thing was you were going to go play pool with Theory of a Deadman over at the dive bar upstairs. But we gave her the blow-up swimmy things for her arms, and she had to play with those on. And then they signed those, and then the band signed this for me. So it was just kind of one of those one-of-a-kind kind of things that you said you got to do a pool party with Theory of a Deadman, but that's what you were doing. So
we had to talk some night about promotions too that are not what they seem.
I would love to. I would love to do that.
Like Speedo Night when you were at the time it was the Florence Freedom. Now they're the Florence Y'all.
The Florence Y'all. Speedo Night. I was out front in my Speedo, and if you showed up in a Speedo, you got in free. I think 3 or 4 people did. They were disappointed in me when they got there, but we'll tell that later.
Okay.
Bobblehead, I want to tell you about the ones that we never did get to do. Those were some good ones as well.
Well, for show and tell, I'm going to save this one, but the Freedom had one of the best bobblehead giveaways ever. And I literally I couldn't find it. It's probably in my storage unit because I only have 8 million things.
All right, well, let me know when you find it because I will bring a couple in particular that I got that night when we did bobblehead night. I'll just go ahead and tell you the concept was we did 96 Rock bobblehead night at the Florence Freedom, and all you had to do is come and give me a bobblehead, and then you could go in.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
So it wasn't get a bobblehead. You had to give me
you one. Okay.
But you should see a couple of the ones that I got.
I bet.
So I'll bring them and show them to you, and we'll show them to you. Oh, Fred, I'm starting to get the boobs
Hang
sweat.
on. So I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you this. Somebody told me today that the Kentucky High School Athletic Association, this is pursuing, everybody's wondering about school in the fall athletics, is going to have a meeting a week from tomorrow to discuss the possibility of flipping the seasons baseball and football.
Really?
So basically baseball would be this fall, and then they would be off November, December. Basketball would be January, February, March. Football would be April through June. And, I got to be honest with you.
I think that's the best idea I've heard yet.
Well, I know. And the reasoning, the reason I like it is if you really look, and I know Mount Healthy, Sycamore, Anderson, they've all had, cases discovered during this practice period. Here's the problem with football. Think about number of kids, close contact. You're down in the stance, breathing, slob. I mean, it is what it is. Sweating. It's a game of football. Sweating profusely. I don't see how. And if every time somebody tests positive, you have to shut down for 14 days, what are you going to do? You don't play the first 2 weeks, and you go back week 3, then you don't play week 6 and 7. I mean, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
So
maybe past that point.
And I don't know what they're going to do with the other fall sports, but I think golf, tennis, soccer, volleyball, you could probably manage those a little better. Football's the one animal that I think is everybody's going to struggle with. So I don't know. They're going to talk about it 8 days from now.
That's a great
It'll be
idea,
interesting.
Actually.
We mentioned that once before.
Because you could do training inside. You could do all that stuff during the colder months.
Well, and think about the heat. Baseball, you think about it, they started in August, September, October. Weather's good enough. It's no worse than starting baseball in April, March like they do.
Yeah.
And football in April, May, June. It's not going to be any hotter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. So anyway, something to consider. We'll keep you posted on that. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, on Thursday and Friday, too. But it's interesting.
Yeah, speaking of Thursday and Friday, Thursday night, 9 to midnight, the reality check on WLW, and then 3 to 6 on Friday, July 3rd. Who better to get you ramped up to blow all your fingers off on Thursday than us? We'll be there.
Well, and you'd be remiss. You ought to at least mention you're involved with something that's going on Saturday.
And if you want to keep all the fireworks in the hands of the professionals with all their fingers, come on out on Saturday starting at noon. Live music starts March 1st Brewing. And they're in Sycamore Township.
Right, yep.
Up on East Kemper. Starting at noon, Chris Lee's going to start playing. Then it's going to be Stoney Doparella Deluxe. They're going to be playing. And then it's going to be Hayden Kay. And then Bronson's band is going to close the show right up until 9:55, and then Rozzies are going to shoot fireworks at 10 o'clock.
Social distance, please.
Yeah, and it's out in the parking lot.
Yep.
Everything will be, there's food trucks and all kinds of stuff, so everything will be
all right, that's cool.
Spread out. But some of the folks in Sycamore Township in that area got together, and they said, you know what, if the city's not going to do it, we'll do it. And they figured out a way to do it. So, again, that's Saturday, cool. 4th of July, noon until midnight at March 1st Brewing,
all right.
If you want to come out. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Jamie Combs, who's in Stoney D, and also Bronson's band on Friday. But, Fred, I honestly, I think I got to go. I wore my cargo shorts so I could stick my little fan up in there because things are getting swampy.
Time to be done.
Okay.
Like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and join us Thursday night, 9 to midnight, Friday, 3 to 6 on 700 WLW. We'll be right back here next Monday, 7 o'clock. Are we done? I'm done.
Do what?
We're done. Have a great week. We'll see you Thursday night.
You sign it off once.
Brutal.